It is time for the Stochastic fiction game. This is a 2-hour writing game. And during this 2 hours, well, we'll create a story based upon this stochastic fiction outline I'm about to create. We'll execute the outline, create it, execute the script, and create the outline. And then we'll open up this outline that was just created. Story, stochastic fiction game. And for today's stochastic fiction game story, written with these story elements, we have setting time future, setting main location bathroom, conflict person versus self, quantity of primary characters 1, point of view first, tense past tense, genre dystopian, and format is going to be flash fiction. So given the time that remains on that clock, and given these story elements, I will write a story for it. It'll be a flash fiction story. It'll be in the future, it'll be in a bathroom, it'll be a person versus self conflict in some dystopian society. Well, I'm not entirely sure what that'll be, but the society that's dystopian, I'm going to use our current one, so if I didn't want to veer from fiction too far, and that's the future too, for at least the next few years, it may be longer, who knows? We just may make a turn in society and really just fall into our own hate. In a bathroom, person versus self too. So we're in a bathroom. There's one person, first person point of view, so they got to think of a voice, and then they got a person versus self. They're conflicting with self. Written in the past tense. Yeah, dystopian. I'm seeing someone in a bathroom right now. For some reason, the first thing that comes to mind is somebody overdosing on drugs. I mean, that's kind of a dystopian state of being. It is. When you're that addicted, you're going to go into like a public bathroom and do drugs. And you do too many. So that'd be kind of a conflict, person versus self. Their own addiction to numb themselves to this dystopia that goes on outside. In the future, sure, like, they don't need to have flying cars and laser rifles anytime before now. Even if we were to put this thing 10 years in the future, at the rate of society being divided, and finding influence from those in power to hate each other, I think this dystopia may be processing on for some time. So we're going to go with just where we're at right now. I'm not going to fictionalize a dystopian fantasy future where we have to be in a game to be able to survive and entertain the rich people to find those true warriors. This could be a simple. Maybe it is. Maybe this is dark. Maybe that's the whole story. We go dark today. We got dystopian person versus self in a bathroom. I mean, unless they're like protecting themselves from the mob of constables, some sort of government military that's coming after them. If I wanted to get inventive, it'd be the chip in the one's body. Maybe they're trying to get it free. Maybe they're pulling themselves apart by it too. Maybe that's probably the best thing for it. A setting time future, setting main location bathroom, conflict person versus self. Quantity of primary characters, 1. Point of view first, tense, past tense, genre, dystopian, format, flash fiction. I wish I had a way to be able to randomly select a thing. Should I have them be pulling a thing out of their skull? That's another thought that just came into mind. Or some way they're debating with themselves, with the agency that the chip they put in their head has become attached to them. Boy, that's a fun story. Genre dystopian. Why go far from the truth? Let's make it dark. We threw in the chips and be a little bit more sci-fi. If it was a chip, it'd be probably a little less like gritty. Maybe this is the addiction to know everything. Why are you in the bathroom? I mean, why would it have to be a bathroom when you do this? Like, I guess it's the cleanest place, right? You think it's the cleanest place. But if you're going to, like, do anything, most of your supplies, like Band-Aids, at least in the households I've lived in, Band-Aids, gauze, hydrogen peroxide, alcohol, those, in my experience, are typically things stored in bathrooms, so it's going to put the person in the bathroom for whatever they're doing right now. If it's about drugs and this person is in our current dystopian society doing drugs in a bathroom, well, that could be any bathroom anywhere. Dark as hell, because I think I'd probably have to have the person like overdose, just to make it true dystopia. If I continue on with the other thought, where this is an injected chip, they're trying to get it out to disconnect themselves from themselves, I think that might be a little more interesting. Maybe we go along like the metaphor for drugs. I'm just tired of being recorded, maybe. Yeah. Let's force myself to write this story. Time. Okay. It's got to be past tense. Or I'm going to go with chip. A little bit more, less real. Nobody wants to read about someone overdosing in a bathroom to numb themselves from society when they overdose. Instead, when you're digging out a chip, it's your own personal bathroom. Man, it's just I got like, now I have a voice that I gotta try to to create. I'm gonna go with the chip. I'm gonna go, but then I gotta leave like see, drugs would be easier because you could at least reference the near future, and people would be able to always be able to, because they're not going away. Drugs are here to stay. Just FYI. The war is lost, and people are still going to do them to numb their minds and bodies and souls to what's going on around them. Welcome to life. And it could be placed anytime. Instead, the other one would be this chip. So then it gets a little sci-fi, this true dystopian, we're now putting chips in people, and not this real dystopia. Well, true fiction dystopia or science fiction dystopia. I would gather to say the world going on around and the way it's going and the amount of ways we're trying to find or numb ourselves from all this going on is also a type of dystopia. At least in my opinion. Not that it matters much, but I'm the one writing the story, so it matters the most right now to this story. Story elements, time, future, bathroom. I wish I had a coin. If I had a coin, I'd be flipping it right now. Maybe they're blocking. Yeah, I'm trying to not write the OD story. I've never overdosed. And I never really have done narcotics that are known for overdoses. I mean, aside from alcohol. But that's just, something that's accepted in society. I never had to have my stomach pumped, but I've certainly drank too much alcohol. It put my body in a really bad state. I guess that would be overdosing on whiskey. It's been a long time since that happened, but those are the memories that sink in your soul. Everything else, I've never done stuff hard enough to where I'd be worried about flipping out on the floor. Worst case is I'm a little more high off marijuana than other people. Maybe I'm tired after it. Need to go to bed. I guess that's the most I've OD'd on marijuana. Yeah, just nothing hard. I've never been into hard drugs that you would OD on, so I don't have that experience. I have read things like by David Foster Wallace, which I think he wrote some pretty good OD scenes. How much of those he experienced, I'm not sure. Still wrote them well. At least I've known people who've OD'd before. I've had a friend die because of it. They said it was suicide, and maybe it was, but it was definitely consuming too many opiates, and well, he died. And this was after he got addicted to opiates. That's certainly dystopia. If I were to use him, yeah, I hadn't seen him in years. When I found out, oddly, I think it was through Facebook. No, it was through my brother, because we both went to high school with him, and I just hung out with him. And he was one of the first people to die in my age group. From 3 years younger, 3 years older. I hadn't seen him in a few years, because I had moved away. He'd moved away. And then I heard about it, and I read the obituary, and I think I read his obituary on Facebook. And then some other site that had obituaries in it. Yeah, so if I want the drug route, that's the nonfiction I'd pick from to be able to better fictionalize. I've written 1,000 stories about things in people's bodies. I'm exaggerating. I've written a lot of stories. And I've rewritten a lot of stories where things have chips implanted in them. I guess I have written thousands if you consider each character of United States of Eden a story. Because there's about 1,400 of them there. Let's go with something that means a thing. Maybe I could mix it and like the drug is the device. So it could have that futuristic dystopian feel to it. And do what a lot of science fiction, good science fiction, does. Which is give some sort of reflection on what's going on in society. So maybe people can see that they themselves are also the ones contributing to it. But now I gotta think of a voice. So I think it's gonna be why would they want to turn? They don't want people to know. Maybe they're addicted to people not knowing anything about them. And this chip sort of, well, let's try that. That's something different. This person is taking this narcotic, and maybe it's not even narcotic. It's just a solution that will prevent their chip from transmitting, and thus giving them independence. Why are they in a bathroom? Because they're technically a drug in their society. The detriment, what it do is eventually it destroys the chip and maybe kills you. But there's a certain rush in society that knows everything of injecting this liquid into your body to prevent the chip that you have embedded in your body from transmitting to other people, so they don't know. They have to ask. And you can walk into a room and realize no one knows anything about you. And you don't know anything about them. Walking in. I'm going to give this when everyone knows everything about everyone. Not knowing. Is a rush. Like a drug. Okay, so that's the start. Now there's like going to be some very high class, witty narrator because it's supposed to be first person. They're in a bathroom. There's person versus self. So there's the conflict is they want to do this. Well, of course, the conflict is it's going to kill them. The drug. I mean, what? I could be something that. I mean, it has to be like an insulator. Like it's like you have in those EMP bags. electromagnetical pulse bags to be able to protect your devices from not only an EMP pulse but from being read and the signal won't go out. And if you could have some liquid that could mimic that, I don't, given that's harmful. Do I want to look this up on the Western Wide Web? I don't think so. And what I was going to look up to see what that stuff's like made of. I'm pretty sure it's some like metal mesh. You'd have to inject into your body. I'm going to look that up real quick and I'll read aloud the results here. So EMP. A Faraday bag. Call it like a Faraday injection. Yeah. I don't know how it works. I don't need to tell how it works, right? Like a Faraday injection. So you need like a Faraday cage, a Faraday shield is an enclosure used to block some electromagnetic fields. A Faraday shield may be formed by continuously covering a conductive material, or in the case of Faraday cage, a mesh of such materials. What's an EMP bag made of? I just need an EMP shield, so that's kind of what it is. But I just want to know what the materials are in it so I know what the person is injecting inside themselves. The Faraday defense. Boy, man. I just want to know what they're made of. It's just trying to sell me a bunch of crap. Let's go with, we're just going to make it up because I don't want to get lost on looking up things on the Western Wide Web and trying to decide what's going to be in this thing that they inject in their body when really I can just say it's a Faraday juice. Is it Faraday? I got to go look that back up. Faraday juice, yes. Faraday juice. And I gotta capitalize all this. It's a saying. A drug tricked. Tricked? No, man, I'm triggered by injecting Faraday juice in a chip. And my mind disconnects from knowing or showing. The mumbles and flashes of thoughts of mixed sensual. The mumbles and flashes of mixed sensual. Let's just say the mumbles and give it like it's talking. The mumble flashes a mixed sensual thought. Then my mind disconnects from seeing or showing thoughts. The mumble flashes a mixed central thought. Silence. Dim. Me. My reflection. In the bathroom. And this is before going out, I guess, because I gotta have it all in the bathroom. And I suppose I gotta think of some long, because there's way for flash fiction stories to decrease the amount of words you need for the story is by just using a lot for the title. So you can make it for this very specific conflict, for this very specific resolution, and therefore decrease the amount of words you need. And given that it's a title, you can be more vague, so, but very specific. If that contradicts, it contradicts. Dystopian flash fiction. Okay, so I think, what's the title of this? Let's think of a title. Maybe it doesn't need to be that long. Injecting Faraday juice. If I called it Injecting Faraday juice, was that a catchy title? I mean, sort of. If you know what Faraday is, then you wouldn't. I don't know. I guess it hints at something a little bit different than like having some sort of brand of heroin called Faraday juice, or whatever other narcotic you're considering to put into a syringe and inject inside your body. Everyone knows everything about everyone, not knowing anything. Maybe I could break out all these things into sentences and go into them a little bit deeper. It's like I never left the bathroom. I can give some examples here too, sort of the things that are being silenced a little bit more in depth. I think I did a double positive somehow. I don't think that's like a double negative though. Negative and negative is a positive. Positive and positive is still a positive. Just a little redundant. So a drug triggered by injecting Faraday juice near the chip. A drug-like feeling. Like a drug. A drug-like feeling. A drug-like feeling triggered. I mean, because I guess be triggered. It's not like it's, I don't know. I'm still trying to find, like, I guess the exit's the end. I'm gonna party without knowing. Until I wake. No. Can't see. Is that in the top? Maybe that's it. Well, I think that's going to be it. Past tense. Drug felt. We'll call it the no chip. I've written many stories with chips. Let's try something different in themes of mental communication. Let's make this all in the past tense, and I think I'll maybe elaborate on each of these sentences to make it a little more depth, give it some structure. I don't know if it's going to be that long. All right, I think I got it. How do you spell lying? Oh, to lie, delay, delay to lie. I'll just say they lied. I want better verb usage for this narrative voice if they lied. I don't know if they lied. I don't know if they lied or thought mean thoughts or nice thoughts. I mean, so let's stop, and if this world isn't a dystopia and they have this chip in them, and it's so well in tune because this chip's going to be a no chip. It'd be like these concepts of using text to communicate, which I used in the detective story that's published, and did a book I'm going through the process of getting published called The Illegal Alien, where it uses thought dialogue because people still use text to sort of communicate, and that's just the level of technology that it was at. But I'm writing this no chip right here to be something that's a little bit more sophisticated, I feel, and therefore a little bit more, I don't know. That's like, then would you talk? I guess that's what I'm getting at. Like, if you knew, and I've thought about this a lot. Like, at what point, if you do have these chips, do you just stop communicating with your mouth? But then we can assume that not everybody has one, so it's still active. And so that should at least be something called out, I think. When everyone knows everything about everyone, not knowing anything about someone is like a rush or drug. I don't know. It feels like a drug. So it feels like a drug. Well, my mind. Okay, okay. Um, okay, so that's maybe at least the first sentence, and you have to talk. My mind disconnected from knowing or sharing thoughts. And you need to talk. With my mouth. And remember what text is. I need to talk with my mouth. Look in the mirror. See the mouth move. And listen for the sounds coming out. It had been months. It loads back. Okay. So this is a way to disconnect your chip. The no chip. And what it's like. And I think, if everything's going to kill you, everything does. Especially if it's even if it's coffee you obsess over. It'll find a way. Then I need to talk with my mouth and look in the mirror to see the mouth voice, and listen for the sounds coming out. It had been months since I last talked. Remembered that text. I remembered took it loaded back. We're still tested. The mumble flashes of mixed sensual thoughts. Him. Me and my reflection stand silent in the bathroom. I think time to party without knowing their thoughts. Time knowing you're free to think all those things without others knowing. Time to party until I waked with a headache from the streams of showing and feeling thoughts. Of showing and knowing. Hurt my head. Let's keep it all past tense. I think that's it. Maybe I need a little bit more. I could add some more to this one. That's a really sort of... Let's read this next. So I got my mind disconnected from knowing and sharing thoughts. Okay. Then I needed to talk with my mouth and look in the mirror to see the mouth voice, the mouth voice, the mouth voice, and listen for sounds the mouth move. How about the mouth move? And listen. And the ears listen for the sounds coming out. It had been months since I last talked. It took about a minute to remember text. It loaded back. We are still tested. We were still tested. I don't want to go present tense all of a sudden. And the narrative, yeah. The mumble flashes of mixed central thoughts. Damn, me and my reflection stand, mind silent in the bathroom. I hear a couple people talk. Yeah, I think this could be done. The mumble flashes a mixed central thought. Damn, me and my reflection stand silent in the bathroom. The music thumps, thumped, 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 past tense the door. Feet stomped the floor. A few voices shouted. Whooped. The crescendo. Man, I think I spelled crescendo recently, and that's probably wrong. Crescendo. Crescendo? Crescendo. With the crescendo of symphony sounds. We'll go drum and bass. Maybe that's it. I really need more. Maybe. Let's read these story elements to see if I've even wrote a story that are of these randomly generated story elements. So setting time future. This is future is gonna hit somebody in the face with the chip, the no chip. I hope at least. So yes. Setting main location bathroom. Yeah, I think I've done that. Even ends in the bathroom with a hangover. Conflict person versus self. Yeah, I mean, addiction, changing your state, your perspective is all upon yourself. It's you that do the change and not someone outside yourself. Quantity of primary characters. One, yeah, there's one character, and they're in the bathroom. Point of view first. I think I've got first. Pretty much through. Tense, past tense. Yeah. I think for the most part, at least I've been correcting it to be past tense, so there may be a present tense sentence in there someplace. Dystopian, yeah, absolutely. I think even if this wasn't set, excuse me, even if this wasn't set during the future, it was kind of in the present time, very easy to see how this is still a dystopia. And in present time, meaning even if there was no chip, and this is sort of a way to... Oh, hold on a minute, I gotta drink a little bit more water after that cough. So, I think my voice is there again, maybe. Genre, dystopian. Even if this wasn't set during the future, and I were going to go with one of the original ideas or concepts about having this be just an overdose in current day in a bathroom, I would still have called that dystopian, because our current reality is leaning toward dystopia, and numbing yourself with too much of a narcotic in a bathroom happens, and that is, I believe, an indicator that there's a potential dystopia outside that you're trying to hide your mind from. In this case, we're going to use science fiction as that candy wrapper. And then also make it a little bit more of a conundrum, meaning that you've been doing this to have the tech in your mind not report on you or share thoughts about you or consume other thoughts that you just don't want to know about somebody else. One moment. I think I need a little bit more water. I'm going to read this aloud. I'm going to call it done. I don't want to ruin it with more words. Do I need to get... I don't want to see... Who gossip? I don't want... I know... I want to write a little, like, an example. I just think if I at least hone in on, like, one thought thing, then it may make it a little bit better. I think it's almost done. I don't know if they lied or thought mean things. Nice thoughts shown and known. Knowing not your fear of dancing or love of vodka. Is a relief. Awkward glances told. Relieved. It felt like a drug. There we go. Okay, I think that's like the little glance in. I just wanted to make sure that I got a little bit more focus on something and showing like the knowing your fear of. Like give an example of what it's like knowing. Then the taste of it when you drink. Take a little bit more a sip of water here, and I will read this aloud. I think that's probably as far as I want to go before I ruin it with more words. Knowing not. Okay, let's just read it and let's see how it rolls. Yeah. I don't want to ruin it with more words. Let's just call it done. Let's be one of those micro flash fiction stories, maybe. And I made it specific enough, maybe interesting enough, who knows. I'll let others decide. For today's stochastic fiction game, with the story elements, setting time future, setting main location bathroom, conflict person versus self, quantity of primary characters 1, point of view first, tense past tense, genre dystopian, format flash fiction. The story written is called Injecting Faraday Juice in a Bathroom at a Party. Injecting Faraday juice in a bathroom at a party. When everyone knows everything about everyone, not knowing anything about someone is a rush, like a drug. I don't know if they lied or thought mean things, or nice thoughts known and shown. Knowing not your fear of dancing or love of vodka, relieved with the thrilling taste of it as you drink. Awkward glances dancing told the story I wanted to read, unless you told me. It felt like a drug injecting Faraday juice near the note chip. My mind disconnected from knowing or sharing thoughts. Then I needed to talk with my mouth and look in the mirror to see the mouth move and hear and listened for the sounds coming out. It had been months since I last talked. It took about a minute to remember text. It loaded back. We still were tested. The mumble flashed of mixed sensual thoughts dimmed. Me and my reflection stood, mine silent in the bathroom. The music thumped the door. Feet stomped the floor. A voice whoops and yeah loud with the crescendo of symphony strings strumming with drum and bass. Time to party without knowing their thoughts. Time to party knowing you're free to think all those things without others knowing. Time to party until I woke with a headache from the backup streams of showing and knowing thoughts from the night hurt my head. But that wasn't then. Then was time to party. Now I could see as I laid in the tub the next morning. Well, let's rate it. I don't hate that. Maybe a little editing. There is a little bit of stench, possibly. I'll go between a 3 and a 4. Feeling generous, maybe, of myself today. And with that, let's go ahead and we'll add this story to the Get Repo of Word. Write a story to the stochastic outline. And that was the stochastic fiction game for today. Until the next story, remember, try to live life so you have a better nonfiction to help your fiction stories be